It's every wrestling fan's favorite time of the year. The NCAA Wrestling Championships start this Thursday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today, we're talking about every undefeated wrestler going into the tournament, the best early and semifinal round matchups that we could potentially see, and if conference championship seedings actually matter. Plus, stick around to find out if you want to know which state qualified the most wrestlers for the tournament. Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. Hello wrestling fans, my name is Josiah and welcome to the Fanco Wrestling Show. On this channel, I talk all about wrestling news, tips, and lifestyle. And before we go any further, make sure you leave a comment below telling me which weight you're most excited to see at the tournament. Personally, I want to see what happens at 133, but 165 and heavyweight are a close second for me. But let's dive into today's topics. First, let's talk about, do conference championships actually matter for seeding? This has been a pretty big topic of discussion over the past week once the seedings came out last week. And if you're interested in finding out who I think will win the tournament, I'll link to that video right here. But as far as if conference championships matter, this has been a debated subject, mostly because of Shakur Rashid, because he didn't wrestle in the Big Ten Finals against Myles Martin at 184 pounds, but he still got the number 2 seed in the tournament over a couple other guys who are arguably have a better season. And really what this comes down to is if losses matter more than wins. And what I mean by that is, if a wrestler has 0 losses, he has that 17-0, 24-0, whatever it is. If he has that 0, even an 11-0 after his in his record, that may be better to the seeding committee than a 24-3 record. Even if you have more quality wins over guys, and such is the case with Shakur Rashid. So I'll get into a couple of these, topics of which weights and which guys I think were seeded wrongly in the bracket. First up, with conference championships, we had, remember, Stefan Micic, he actually didn't wrestle the entire tournament. He wrestled the first match, he won that, he qualified for nationals, and he forfeited for the rest of the tournament. He ended up taking 6th place. So what happens there? He took 6th place, but he's still the number 2 seed. Well, yeah, he is still undefeated. And I think this is a case where we can forgive a little bit, because I believe Micic is actually hurt more than some of these other guys like a Rashid, and I give him a little bit of a pass, kind of like Jason Nolf last year, where this guy, he has quality wins this year, obviously, but why is he the number 2 seed? Well, he has shown his dominance, so I'm okay with that. But as far as Rashid, and trust me, I have a couple more than just these two, but Rashid at 184 pounds is 18-0 going into the tournament, but with that forfeit to Myles Martin, this was his 2nd forfeit to Martin, so he didn't wrestle him twice this year. First was in the Penn State versus Ohio State dual meet. They didn't wrestle, because Rashid was actually out on a couple matches at that time because of injury, but he also didn't wrestle in the Big Ten Finals, and a lot that does come down to strategy a little bit, I think, for Penn State. But who should have got ranked above him? Well, Rashid's most dominant win this year is probably against number 9 Taylor Venz of Nebraska, and he beat him in the Big Ten tournament, but that's really his best win. I look at a guy like Zach Zavatsky, who I believe should be the number 2 seed over Rashid. Does it really matter that much? Well, it's number 2 and number 3, so they're probably going to meet in the semis anyhow if they both win out. But Zach Zavatsky has wins over Nino Bonacorsi. He has over number 7 Renan, over 8 Price, but he does have a couple losses. He has losses to Max Dean and Drew Foster. But here's the thing, guys. Rashid never wrestled these guys, so we don't know if he'd win or lose. So that's a little bit upsetting and a little bit disconcerting. As far as other guys, Mikey Carr at 141 pounds. Mikey Carr was the number 1 seed at 141 pounds, above Nick Lee, above Joey McKenna, which was a little bit outrageous and a point of debate. But he ended up taking 8th place. He lost to Chad Red in an early round matchup, who ended up making it to the finals, but he ended up taking 8th place and taking the second to last qualifier spot at Big Tens at 141 pounds. With that loss, he is 12-5 on the season. Mikey Carr is. But he ended up getting the number 6 seed over a couple of these guys. Let me read a couple of these guys to you who are seated lower than Mikey Carr, but who placed above him at Big Tens. And number 7, Mitch McKee from Minnesota, Kanan Storr, as well as Tristan Moran. And then there's also Max Murin of Iowa. These guys all beat Mikey Carr, or not beat him, placed above him at Big Tens, but they're seated below him. Now, a couple of these guys, it makes sense because Mikey Carr beat them earlier in the season. But how much does recency play into effect? Does that even matter to the seeding committee? Because really, it seems like a second place finish is the same as a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place finish. In this case, it's really not that good of a seed. And I think it's kind of crazy. Then we go on to another guy, Alec Pantelio, at 157 pounds. He got the number 4 seed, and he actually took to Twitter. In this graphic I'm showing, I'm referencing his tweet where he says, "Riddle me this. How does someone who I almost majored a few days ago get seeded ahead of me at NCAAs? Who does these seeds, man? Blows my mind." And the one he's talking about is over Deacon. And Deacon, Northwestern, is 29-4, but what happened is Pantelio beat him, almost majored him. He beat him by a pretty high score, and Deacon got seated above him at number 3. This is a case where it's actually important because guess what? Now Pantelio is probably going to run into Jason Nolf in the semifinals at that number 4 seed because Nolf is the number 1 at 157 pounds. This is very upsetting. I have 2 more for you guys, and another just Big Ten again. Mason Paris of Michigan. He is the number 5 seed at nationals somehow with a record of 29-7. He has 7 losses and is the number 5 seed. So he took 7th at Big Tens, which is the last allocation for heavyweight. A 7th place. That's what he took. And other guys, look, just like the Mikey Carr situation, there are guys who are seated behind him, but who placed ahead of him at Big Tens. Let's talk about Conan Jennings, who beat him twice this year, once at Big Tens, seated below him. He got the number 12 spot. Of course, he has a couple more losses, but still. And then we had Mason Paris, who was pinned. He was pinned by David Jensen of Nebraska. Now, he also has a couple more losses, and that comes down to quality of competition, but he lost. Why is Mason Paris the number 5 seed? How much do these conference championships actually matter? And then another crazy one, which may disprove my point a little bit, but we had Joe Smith of Oklahoma State, who dropped a weight from 174 down to 165 pounds, but he got the number 33 seed, and now he has to run into Alex Marinelli in the first round. If Joe Smith wins his pigtail match, he runs into Alex Marinelli first round. Now that is a case where he actually lost it. He didn't do that well at Big 12s, I'm sorry. And so he got punished for it. Should guys get punished for this? Should Rashid have got punished for not wrestling at Big Tens? What happens, if you give these guys a loss on the record for medically forfeiting? Does that harm them a little bit? Does that give them, instead of having that 18-0, giving them an 18-1, would that affect their seeding a little bit more? I happen to think yes. The only issue with this is, in Micic's case, for example, then what would happen is he would be whatever he is in 3, but guys like Luke Pletcher, Roman Bravo Young would have wins over him, even though they didn't technically beat him. So, what is the answer to this? What do you guys think about this? Is this kind of outrageous? Do conference championships actually matter? Let me know below what you guys think. On to the next topic. Why is Anthony Cassar not the number 1 seed? Let's talk about the heavyweight seedings and what went on with that. So this is a very interesting case. Much like 133 pounds, which is crazy, I think heavyweight is a very interesting seeding position because we have Derek White, Anthony Cassar, and Gable Steveson in the top 3. Each of them have 1 loss, and all of them are to each other. So Derek White has a loss to Gable Steveson, Anthony Cassar has a loss to Derek White, and Gable Steveson has a loss to Anthony Cassar. And each of them have, wins over each other who they didn't lose to. So with Anthony Cassar winning the Big Ten championship, he beat Gable Steveson in an awesome match. If you guys haven't seen that yet, you have to check it out. What a phenomenal third period, I should say. Phenomenal third period. And that is, I'll talk a little about semifinal matchups. That's the semifinal matchup we could see again. But why is Cassar not first? Well, I think really what it comes down to is the, should recency play an effect? Well, Cassar has that loss to Derek White. And because, even though Stevenson beat Derek White, it was at the beginning of the season, which, recency maybe has an effect there. And Derek White actually hasn't slipped up. Of course, White from Oklahoma State, he hasn't slipped up since that loss to Stevenson. He has a record of 28-1. Cassar is 28-5, and Stevenson is 30-1. He would have been 31-0 if he won Big Tens. But White won the Big 12 conference just like Cassar won the Big Tens. White also has, he won at the scuffle over Cassar. And, Stevenson has a Cliff Keen Las Vegas title, which is solid, but White has a Southern Scuffle title throughout the year. So I think really what this comes down to is because White beat Cassar, that's why he got that #1 seed. I think Stevenson was going to get that 3 seed either way. The seeding committee could have gone either way, putting Cassar first or second. I'm okay with this. I'm not very upset about this. He was going to have to wrestle one of these guys anyways, but now he's probably going to run into Stevenson in the semifinals. But guys, don't also count out the #4 guy. And he is a guy who has losses only to the top 3 guys. He has lost to Cassar, White, and Stevenson. And that's Jordan Wood of Lehigh. He lost to each of these guys throughout the year. He has a record of 21-3. He'll run into Derek White in the semis if both of these guys win out. So that's a very interesting topic. And, if you guys were wondering what the deal with that was, make sure you leave a comment below letting me know who should have been the #1 seed, and if you agree with it. This is going to be a phenomenal weight to watch at the national tournament. Let's get into the next topic. Which state qualified the most guys for the national tournament? And by which state, I'm talking about which home state. So this is guys who wrestled for Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Iowa in high school. What home state qualified the most guys for nationals? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania came out on top. They qualified 53 wrestlers. Count them, 53 wrestlers for nationals. And the next closest state, which I'll read off this list here in a little bit, is 24. So they doubled the next state. That is absolutely incredible. Let's talk about this. I'm going to put up a graphic here. This comes from John Bartnick, and it was retweeted by PA Power Wrestling. So Pennsylvania has 53 qualifiers, which is unreal. New Jersey has 24, Ohio 24, Illinois 22, Michigan 19. California qualified 18 guys, which is pretty impressive. New York 17 guys, 14 guys coming from Missouri, and then 12 guys from Iowa, Georgia, and Colorado. So that was the list. 53 qualifiers. What a phenomenal showing by Pennsylvania Wrestling. PA Wrestling showed up. They've always shown to be a powerhouse state in high school and in college. A lot of these Penn State guys, they're coming from Pennsylvania. But guess what? We have so many other guys. Now, of course, Jason Nolf is a Pennsylvania guy. But we also have guys. You have Luke Pletcher. You have Spencer Lee. You have Max Murin. You have Austin DeSanto. The list goes on and on and on. And for you Pennsylvania guys who may be wondering, which area of Pennsylvania qualified the most, well, I'm here to tell you that District 7 had 21 qualifiers. District 7 is the Whippeal, and it is the powerhouse of Pennsylvania wrestling in the southwest region of PA. And just to read a couple guys off to you here, you have Luke Pletcher, who is a Whippeal guy. Spencer Lee, Whippeal guy. Mikey Card, Jason Nolf, Zach Hartman out of Bucknell, freshman this year from the Whippeal. You have Vincenzo Joseph, Nino Bonacorsi. The list goes on and on and on. 21 wrestlers. Guys, if the Whippeal was a state, they would have qualified the 5th most wrestlers. 5th most. That means they would have been, the only states that would have been above them, PA, New Jersey, Ohio, and Illinois. The Whippeal qualified more than all these other states that's just an incredible figure to think about. Other guys from Pennsylvania, or other districts that I want to talk about. The next district had not had 9 qualifiers, and that was District 3. District 11 had 7, and District 6 had 5. This was from PA Power Wrestling. This that I'm referencing this from. PA Power Wrestling is a great source for checking out all of your information. And another great article for you to check this out is from the Open Mat. They put out an article, and also Flow Wrestling, talking about where these guys come from and how many states qualified each of these wrestlers. So I thought that was an incredible topic. What do you think about this? Is it phenomenal? Is PA wrestling still the most dominant state? And how many guys from PA will win a national title this year? On to the next topic. What are the best early round matchups at the national tournament? This is something I'm really excited for. And if you guys haven't been to nationals or you haven't watched nationals, obviously the finals are great to watch. The semifinals are phenomenal. But guess what? At the national level, you have the top guys, the top 30 some guys competing, depending on which weight class you're in, competing, the top 30 guys crunched into one bracket. You're going to get great matches. You may have a couple weights that you have those dominant guys, like a Jason Nolf, like a Bo Nickel. But guess what, guys? Every other weight, anybody can win a title. And honestly, crazier things have happened. So the best early round matchups, I'm talking first round, second round, quarterfinals, so everything before the semifinals. And in the quarterfinal, or actually in the second round, one of the first matches I want to talk about is number 10, Roman Bravo Young versus number 7, Austin DeSanto. I think this can be a big match, mostly because Penn State always shows up for the national tournament and pulls off upsets. Austin DeSanto beat RBY at Big Tens. He beat him by a score of 13-8, and he beat him pretty good in the consolation rounds to drop RBY to the 5th, 6th place match. But I think this could be another great matchup to watch. And Austin DeSanto, he's looking to make it all the way into the quarters against Stefan Micic. Well, this would be a rematch, a direct rematch from last year, which, if you guys remember, Micic and DeSanto wrestled. Of course, DeSanto last year was not wrestling for Iowa. He's wrestling for Drexel, and they met in the quarterfinals. And as you may remember, that was a crowd-inducing match. Everybody was freaking out about that because Micic he silenced DeSanto, silenced him, beat him 13-1. And DeSanto, at the end of that match, that's when he pulled out his crazy cartwheel and Kimura at the end. It was just nuts. What will happen if these two wrestle this year? That's a match I really, really want to see in the quarterfinals. Who do you think would win that match again? Because just because he beat him 13-1 last year, DeSanto also has a win against Micic. He majored him last year. They each have majors against each other. And I think both of these guys have improved significantly from that quarterfinal last year. Definitely an early round match I want to see. Another early round match is a round 1 match at 165 pounds. We have number 1, Alex Marinelli, going up against number 33, Joe Smith from Oklahoma State. What a match. Now, you guys may know Joe Smith. He dropped from 174 pounds down to 165. He got the 33 seed. And just so you guys know, the last few seeds are actually not, they're not seeded. The last few guys, like 29 to 33, they're not seeded. They're just placed randomly into matches. And because Joe Smith didn't do so swell at the Big 12 tournament, that's why he was placed in there. And he hasn't wrestled much at that weight, so there's not much to go on but that. But guess what? He's a solid dude, solid wrestler. And, he is a real battler. And we'll give Alex Marinelli, could have given him a run for his money. Now, I do think that Marinelli from Iowa is on a mission. He wants a national title. We saw what he did to Chenzo of Penn State in the Big Ten finals, and he's out on a mission to win this. Now, what's nice, Joe Smith has a win over McFadden at 174 pounds, who was the number 6 wrestler. He lost by a decision to Mark Hall at 174 pounds. So, this isn't a guy who's just some scrub. He's going to make a match in the first round. First round on Thursday morning. At 165 pounds, also in the top half of the bracket, we have Evan Wick, who may be meeting Chance Marsteller in the quarterfinals. This is the number 4 versus number 5 guy. These guys, I don't believe have met yet, but this could be a very interesting match for a couple of reasons. Now, Evan Wick of Wisconsin is 28-4. He's the number 4 guy. And Marsteller of Lock Haven is the number 5 guy. He's 22-2. Both of these guys, they're scrappy wrestlers, always looking for, they're always scrambling around, and I think Chance can pull off the upset. And I think that, they didn't wrestle this year, but they did wrestle last year. And I do remember watching that match. That was for the 3rd and 4th place match, and that was actually one of the Wisconsin head coach. It was his final match, and so Wick ended up winning that last year for him, beating Chance Marsteller. And this year, though, I think Chance and Wick are both, they have some fire in them. Chance just won the EWLs with under Lock Haven, and that was pretty nice. Now, Chance has losses to Shields and Vincenzo, while Wick has losses to Massa and Marinelli, and he has 3 losses to Marinelli, and if he wins this match against Chance, he could meet Marinelli again in the semifinals, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. I mean, why couldn't he have been a higher seed? Or I just think that's a little bit ridiculous. But who wins this match? I'm pretty excited to see this. At 184 pounds, the last big early round matchup that I have for you guys is Zach Zavatsky versus Drew Foster. Zach Zavatsky of Virginia Tech is the number 3 seed. He's 24-3, while Drew Foster of UNI is 23-5. This is a solid match. These guys are both top ranked wrestlers, and both conference champs. Zavatsky, of course, won the ACCs, and Foster won the Big 12. Conference champs going against each other is big. Foster has 2 wins over Zach Zavatsky at Cliff Keen in December. Both of those matches, I think, Zavatsky can pull off the win and change the tide. Now, the winner is most likely to wrestle Shakur Rashid or Renan of NC State in that bracket at 184 pounds. This is a loaded weight class. You got these 2 guys, as well as Miles Martin. You have Shakur Rashid, Chip Nash, Emery Parker. So many good guys at 184 pounds, and I think these are the best 5 early round matchups. Am I leaving any out? Which other matches would you say are incredible to watch that you have to see early round? Make sure you're in your chair for nationals. Let's talk about 6 semifinal matches that you have to watch out for. Now, of course, I'm just saying these are potential matches, and I'm telling you right now, not all these guys may not make it into the semifinals. This is my projections, my predictions, possible matchups. Upsets will happen. That is a fact. So let's get into this. At 125 pounds, we have Spencer Lee, who could be beating number 2 Nick Piccinini. Spencer Lee got the number 3 seed. Of course, the number 1 seed at that weight is Sebastian Rivera. He is on the top half of the bracket. But Spencer Lee of Iowa, earlier this season in the dual meet, as you may remember, Iowa versus Oklahoma State, he got pinned by Nick Piccinini in a beautiful, beautiful cradle. Whenever Spencer Lee shot in, he did that split, got stuck. It was nice. Now, Pitch is 30-0 right now, undefeated on the year. And I think that this could be a great matchup because Spencer Lee beat Pitch last year at Nationals. Pitch beat him this year in the dual meet. What will happen this year? Some guys have been saying stuff about Spencer Lee, whether he's still okay, whether he's doing all right. I happen to think that he is okay. I think he did very well at Big Tens last week. Of course, he lost to Rivera, but I think he's still on his stride. But Pitch he's a Big 12 champion, and he pinned Lee this year. I mean, recency has to play an effect. So that's one of my first matches to watch out for. At 133 pounds, Dayton Fix versus Mickey Philippi. Dayton Fix is the number 1 seed, and Philippi beat Dayton Fix earlier in the year. Fix is 30-1 right now. His only loss coming to Mickey Philippi of Pittsburgh. What will happen this time? Philippi won that match earlier in the year in the dual meet, Oklahoma State versus Pitt. He won that match in a last-minute takedown, which was very, very nice. Ended up riding Fix out for the rest of the period and winning that match for Philippi. What will happen this year? Could he upset Fix? Now, let's not forget who these guys also have to run into, because Philippi, you know, he also has a loss to Myers and Suriano on the year. So he has a couple more losses than Fix. But let's not overshadow that these guys still have a lot of competition in those early rounds to actually even make it to each other. So that's my favorite match to look out for at 133. But on the other side of the bracket, we have two guys who could be meeting up in number 3, Nick Suriano, versus number 2, Stefan Micic at 133 pounds. Again, this could happen if Micic wins against, he has to make it there, beat possibly DeSanto, Roman Bravo Young. We don't know what's going to happen, but if these two meet up, this will be a great rematch. Suriano, I thought he wrestled very, very well at Big Tens. He won the Big Ten championship. Stefan Micic didn't get to wrestle him again because he medically forfeited out. If Micic is good this year, I have him winning a title if he's still healthy. We've seen other guys make it into the finals, win national titles with torn ACLs, Yanni Diakomahalis, and even Spencer Lee made it to the state finals his senior year, as he was a 4-time state finalist. Of course, he lost, but wrestling with a torn ACL, that's some tough stuff right there. But I don't know what the problem is with Micic right now, why he's hurt, but that's a great match to look out for. Suriano lost by a 3-2 decision in the dual meet, so I think that match could turn its tide potentially if Suriano wrestles well. At 141 pounds, Nick Lee, he could be meeting Joey McKenna. McKenna is the number 2 seed, while Nick Lee of Penn State got the number 3 seed. This is a Penn State versus Ohio State match. Fun fact, this is a semifinal match. Penn State hasn't lost a semifinal in the last, I believe it's 3 or 4 years. Almost every guy that they make it in the semifinals makes it into the finals. What if Nick Lee goes up against Joey McKenna again? We saw these two wrestle twice this year. They wrestled most recently at Big Ten, where Joey McKenna beat Lee, but in the dual meet between Penn State and Ohio State, Nick Lee put out the upset and jumped pretty high. He jumped pretty high in the rankings, beating McKenna. McKenna looked tired that match. He didn't look tired at Big Tens, but I think this match could be close. Every single time these guys have wrestled, which they wrestled twice this year, I believe they wrestled once last year, it's been a close decision by a point or two. So I see this going either way. At 174 pounds, let's talk about that. Zahid Valencia versus Daniel Lewis. This is a match you guys may remember from earlier in the season when Daniel Lewis pinned Zahid Valencia. These guys are the number 2 and number 3 seeds, respectively. Daniel Lewis of Missouri and Zahid of Arizona State. Now, what the deal is with this right now is Zahid is 26-2. He has losses to Lewis and Mark Hall. Daniel Lewis is 24-1. His only loss is to Miles Amin, actually, towards the beginning of the year. But he pinned Zahid in, I believe it was the second period, in a beautiful cradle. This is something, if they wrestle again, I don't see a pin happening. I really don't. Zahid will watch out for that this time. I've seen crazier things happen where guys get pinned in the semifinals, in the finals. Bo Nickel, Miles Martin last year. But, this is a great match to watch out for. And the winner will probably wrestle Mark Hall or Miles Amin on the top half of the bracket, I want to see Lewis wrestle Mark Hall in the finals, if I'm telling the truth. But I'd also like to see a Zahid rematch to see how that would go. And the last match I want to tell you guys to look out for is a heavyweight match, actually. And this is Gable Stevenson versus Anthony Cassar. Cassar is the number 2 seed. Stevenson is the number 3 seed. These guys wrestled earlier in the year last week, actually, at Big Tens. And Stevenson lost. He's now 30-1, whereas Cassar right now is 25-1. His only loss to the number 1 seed Derek White. This is a match to watch out for because the third period, if you watch that match, these guys were taking beautiful shots on each other. Nice super ducks on Stevenson's part, and I could see this, those guys were feeling each other the first couple of periods, trying to see how they could take a shot, how they could get it on the other guy. And that's why that third period really turned into a grind match. And I see that happening earlier in periods in the semifinals. Who wins it this time? Does Stevenson win it because he's out looking for 4 national titles? Or does Cassar win it because, guess what? he wants his first national title at his first shot at it because he wasn't even on the roster last year because he wrestled behind Shakur Rashid. Guys, these are the 6 best semifinal matches to watch out for. Which matches are you most excited for, and did I leave any out? Remember, these are potential matches. We may not see this happening, but I'm excited to see if they do. Who are the top undefeated wrestlers? Who are the undefeated wrestlers going into the national tournament? Well, there are 7 undefeated wrestlers who are the number 1 seeds at their weight classes. But there are a couple other guys who aren't the number 1 seeds who are still undefeated. And I thought this would be fun to talk about because, you know, it's always fun to see who is undefeated on the year. So, of course, you guys probably know Bo Nickel, Jason Nolf, but who are these other guys? I'm going to go down each weight class and tell you who is undefeated. Starting at 125 pounds, you have Nick Piccinini of Oklahoma State, who's undefeated. He's 30-0 on the season. His significant wins over most recently, especially as at the number 3 seed right now, he pinned him in the dual meet. I think Pitch is looking great this year. His really, I think, his really only competition, if he meets Spencer Lee in the semifinals, and if he beats him, if he wins that match, he will probably have Sebastian Rivera in the finals. But I'm not counting any of these other guys out. You know, you have Vitalia Rouge of Cornell, who I think is a bracket buster on the top half of the bracket, as well as a couple other guys who I think could really, really make some noise. But Pitch is 30-0. Another guy who I think could do pretty well, undefeated at 125 pounds, is Jack Mueller. Jack Mueller of UVA is number 5 seed. He's 17-0. Now, he is an ACC champion, and his toughest opponent right now, his toughest win is against Fowles of NC State, and he beat him earlier in the year. Now, Mueller is actually the lowest seeded guy who is undefeated. So most of these guys, you know, you see the number 1 guy in 7 of these weights being undefeated, but he's the lowest number 5 at the number 5 seed, 17-0. At 133 pounds, you have Stefan Micic at the number 2 seed. Now, he's also a guy who's not number 1. I think he could be, but because he didn't wrestle, he wrestled 1 match at Big Tens last week. Because of that, it kind of hurt his seeding a little bit, giving him the number 2 spot, running into a couple guys beforehand in the quarters, semifinals. But right now, Stefan Micic is 14-0. He beat Suriano, the number 3 seed, as well as number 5, Luke Pletcher. And the other big thing is he beat the number 1 seed at 125 pounds in Sebastian Rivera earlier in the year in a nice super match, I should say. So Micic, number 2 at 133, still undefeated from Michigan. At 141 pounds, Yanni Diakomahalis of Cornell is 24-0. Right now in the pound for pound, he is the number 4 guy. He has wins. He had a nice win over Joey McKenna a couple of weeks ago, and he is actually the EIWA champion. He dominated his way through that tournament, and I see him winning nationals this year, staying undefeated. Let me know as I'm going through these, which guys will stay undefeated at the end of the year. I'll give you my predictions in just a bit, but going into 149 pounds, you have Anthony Ashnault, who I believe has some of the most quality wins out of all these guys in every weight class. So Ashnault at 149 pounds from Rutgers is 27-0 and looking to be Rutgers' first national champion. Of course, we have a couple other guys in contention, such as Nick Suriano, also looking to be a national champion. But Ashnault has looked really well this year. He has wins over number 2, Micah Jordan of Ohio State, number 3, Fine Silver, as well as number 5, Kolodzic. He has wins over all these guys who at the time, I believe he beat Jordan at the time he beat Kolodzic. They were the number 1 seeds, and he just worked his way up this year to show his dominance. The only guy in the top 5 he doesn't have a win against is number 4 seed, Jack Mahler of Missouri. Will he stay undefeated at the end of the year? At 157 pounds, you have the number 1 seed, Jason Nolf, who's undefeated. He's 26-0. He's a Hodge contender, the number 1 in the pound-for-pound rankings. Right behind him is Bo Nickel. But guys, he has won 22 matches this year by bonus points, and he has over 100 pins. I believe he's over 100 pins in his career. That's pretty solid for Jason Nolf. Well, he has over 100 wins. I know that. I don't know about pins, but 22 22 bonus point victories this year. At 165 pounds, we have Alex Marinelli, the number 1 seed, who's 23-0. And this is a man on a mission. It's his dominance, the way that he handled Vincenzo Joseph in the upper body match, really, with those over-under hooks. I'm scared of what he's going to do this year at Nationals. I really am. I think he's going to do very well. 23-0 with wins against Evan Wick. 3 wins against him this year, as well as Vincenzo Joseph. Evan Wick is the number 3 seed. He also has won over Josh Shields. So, looking pretty good. At 174 pounds, Mark Hall, another Penn State guy who's undefeated, 26-0. He's number 3 in the pound-for-pound rankings from Flow Wrestling, and he has wins over Zahid Valencia as well as Miles Amin. He does not have a win, however, against Daniel Lewis of Missouri. How will he do against him if they wrestle at Nationals? Will he stay undefeated if they wrestle? Because remember, Lewis pinned Zahid Valencia. At 184 pounds, the number 1 seed again is Miles Martin. Miles Martin is 20-0. Miles Martin from Ohio State. He's the number 5 guy in the pound-for-pound rankings right now overall. He has wins over number 4, Emery Parker, number 9, Venz, as well as number 7, Renan, number 5, Dean. He does not have wins against number 2, Shakur Rashid. Not his fault. Rashid hasn't wrestled him this year. He had 2 times to wrestle him. Hasn't wrestled him, as well as he hasn't wrestled Zach Zavacki at the number 3 seed. But this is another guy, just like Ashnault, who I think he's had some incredibly great quality wins over the top 10 guys in the bracket, and I see him doing well this week. And also in this weight, who's another guy, one of the only 2 weight classes that has 2 undefeated guys, is Shakur Rashid, who's 18-0. He has the most notable wins over number 9, Taylor Venz, at the Big Ten tournament, but he missed part of the season due to injury, so that's, he hasn't wrestled some of these guys, and he's, some may say dodged Miles Martin, and if you want to say dodged, go for it, because I'm not too happy about that. As a Penn State fan, I'm not too happy that I didn't get to see him wrestle Miles Martin yet this year, and I don't know what to expect. At 197 pounds, we have 2 undefeated guys just as well, just like the last weight. First is Bo Nickel, who I think will stay undefeated for sure, 25-0. Number 2 pound for pound, Hodge contender, Bo Nickel. He has won 23 out of his 25 matches this year by bonus, similar to Jason Nolf. 15 pins, including a pin over number 2, Colin Moore. What a season, what a career for this guy. And then also undefeated is number 3, Preston Weigel of Oklahoma State. He is 11-0. I don't believe he's wrestled a lot of the year, but 11-0 with wins over number 5, Jacob Warner from Iowa, and number 6, Willie Miklas from ISU. So Weigel, I think, on the other side of the bracket from Bo Nickel at the number 3 seed, I think he can do very well in possibly making the finals. That would be a nice weight class where we would get to see 2 undefeated guys going up against each other in the finals if it happens. We've seen it happen before, and I love those type of matches because both of them have everything to gain and everything to lose, with being undefeated. But going on to heavyweight, this is the only weight class where there is no undefeated wrestler. And we have Stevenson, who could have been undefeated, 31-0, but a little guy called Anthony Cassar beat him in the Big Ten Finals. And Anthony Cassar is not undefeated, even though he's a Big Ten champion. He lost to number 1, Derek White from Oklahoma State. So this is a great weight class to see how everybody does. Now, who will stay undefeated out of all these guys? Well, I have 7 of them staying undefeated. So 7 undefeated wrestlers. There are 12 in total. 7 out of 12 will stay undefeated. So we have Stefan Miocic, I have staying undefeated if he stays healthy. Yanni at 141. Anthony Ashnault doing really well for Rutgers. Think he'll stay undefeated. Jason Nolf, Mark Hall, Miles Martin, and Bo Nickel. I think all of these guys will stay undefeated on the season and win national titles. That would be a great year, and I really don't know the last time that we've had that many undefeated wrestlers. I remember last year there was the top seed, I believe, was an undefeated wrestler at every weight class, and that was really cool to see because guess what? Not all of them won, guys. Not all of the number one guys always win. And that's what I'm most excited about. Make sure to let me know, who do you think will stay undefeated at the end of the year? That's it for the Fanco Wrestling Show. And make sure you guys check out my full guide to the NCAA Wrestling Championships so you're fully prepared. Thanks for watching.